Hi, you're with us with Music Lab. I'm Eddino Abdul Hadi. I'm here at Rasa for the third ST Podcast Live session celebrating 180 years of the Straits Times. I've got Evan Lowe here with me. Now, Evan is a composer, producer, and music director who has made over 200 songs. And I'm sure some of you here, all of you here have heard some of the songs that he's done. He produced and composed well-loved National Day Parade theme songs, such as the 2018 version of We Are Singapore, The Road Ahead, and last year's theme, Not Alone. Evan has also performed at concerts all over the world with international pop stars like Taiwanese singer A-mei. Has anybody heard of A-mei here? Any fans around here? Yeah? Yeah? All right. Hi, Evan.
Hi, great to be here, Dino.
Yeah, welcome to Music Lab.
Yeah, tons of fun. Very excited to be in front of a live audience. Super cool.
Nice. This is the first Music Lab that we're doing live, by the way.
Ooh-wee. Very exciting.
Right. So, Evan, let's go way back. So, I understand that you first took piano lessons at the age of 5.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So, at which point in your childhood did you realize that, music was something special, something that you really love?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was a very obvious emotional reaction from me because when I was a kid, all love to my parents, but I was brought up in a very Asian household, meaning the way they show love to you is they cut fruits for you and stuff like that. Don't tell you they love you, right? So normally we don't know how to express ourselves well when I was young. And when I was playing the piano as a kid, there was a moment where when I was just practicing, I just started to cry. I was like, oh my God, what am I feeling? What is this emotion that's coming up?
Wait. You wanted the piano lessons or your parents made you do it?
I begged for it.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
strangely. I think all thanks to probably my mom conditioning me. My dad and my mom used to play a lot of like Beatles, Yanni, and a bunch of other stuff, Richard Clayderman.
So they were musicians themselves?
Oh no, but they were hoping one of the 3 kids they had a bit of some musical blood in them lah.
And they got you.
Yeah, thank goodness. Yeah.
Okay.
So here I am. So yeah, after that revelation when I was a kid, I was like, oh my, this made me feel things. I was like, okay, I'm gonna work on this a little bit. And yeah, long story short, I'm still here doing some music things for a career. So yeah, long story short.
Okay, so you went to primary school and then you went to secondary school. And after secondary school, you went to Singapore Polytechnic and you graduated with a diploma in music and audio technology. And then after that, you went to the US.
Yeah, that's
you
right.
furthered your music education at the Berklee College of Music, which is one of the most prestigious music schools in North America. You got a scholarship from the school and the Media Development Authority.
Yeah.
So, but before that, at which point did you think, okay, after secondary school, after national service, you wanted to take music seriously? That it wasn't just a hobby, it wasn't just something you did for fun, that you wanted to further your studies in music and eventually make it a full-time career?
Yeah, that's a great question. So while I was in secondary school, I was in the choir. I was playing in a few bands, just the jam bands that you form with your classmates. And I mean, during that time, that really fueled my passion. But the one thing that really struck and really stuck with me was when I did my O-levels, when I got my grades, the only thing that was an A, besides from my combined science, was music.
Oh.
And although I could go to a quite all right junior college, I knew that if I could go to a pretty decent polytechnic of my choice. And looking at my grades, I was like, okay, down the road, what do I want to do with all the skill sets I have then and there? And I realized, okay, path of least resistance is either combined sciences or music. What do you love the most? Music. Okay, I'm going to do that. So, and I just decided to go all in. I told my parents, say, hey, I know, I think JC is 2 years instead of, and Poly is 3, right? Yeah, so I say, just give me an additional year. It's okay. I do think this is a gamble I want to take. And I do think, given the current situation, because I think that diploma in particular at that period of time, I was the second batch.
Oh, so it was a new course at
It
that
was a
time
new
when you joined.
course, and I do think if a new course is being started at period of time, that means there must be a reason why the government and the polytechnic is sinking money into it, and I do think it's something that I need to jump onto. So at least that was what my young brain was thinking back then, and it was actually just more I want to play music and be cool, but post rationalizing it. But yeah, so I just decided to take that leap of faith, and yeah, it was fantastic because that course really equipped us not only with the traditional musicianship skills, it enabled us to understand production, like music production, like in the studio, being able to perform, being able to manage musicians as well, and manage technology. So I'm able to record, I'm able to write, I'm able to produce, and that enabled me to be a Swiss Army knife, which enabled me to do work outside of school, while in school, and while I was in the army as well. So while I was in the Navy, actually, I was developing a year training app, learning all the different skills, people managing, and working in studios when I was able to book out. And that landed me that scholarship with MDA and Berkeley. And yeah, so when I went to Berkeley, that really helped me because all that skill sets that Singapore Poly provided me was I think a very special set of skills. That sounds like that movie. What was it? Taken?
Yeah.
So that gave me an edge, and then it actually enabled me to test out on a lot of the modules. So on Berkeley, I was able to actually finish that degree in 2.5 years. So that was incredible. And I think the thing that bought me was time, and I was enabled to spend time to talk with people. Like the previous podcasters that said, I was able to network, able to meet people. I was able to share experiences, to write with people. Especially with music, you need to have a very varied worldview, because everyone's experiences, let's say even about love, is different. And to hear that being played on different instruments, or even the same instrument from a different country, different culture, means different things. So that gave me a very special set of skills again. And then coming back, here I am.
Okay. What would you say were the biggest takeaways from? How long were you in Berkeley? How many years was it?
2.5 years, yeah.
In that 2.5 years when you were there, when you were with students from not just North America, but all over the world.
Yeah.
Right? What were your biggest takeaways from that 2.5 years?
This is a fun story to tell because I started going in there as actually a session drummer. I was a studio drummer when I first entered Berkeley because across the 3 years while I was in Singapore Polytechnic, I picked up the drums. I was a proper, not really proper, but on its way, studio drummer, recording for albums, artists, singers.
Who were some of these artists and albums that you worked on?
I can't remember them off the top of my head. It's been more than a decade. But it's these indie artists.
Local indie artists.
Yeah, local indie artists, like at Snakeweed Studios, a very well-loved indie studio space. But when I went to Berkeley, I realized that, which is actually quite a recurring theme that the previous podcast talked about also, was I realized that although I'm passionate about music and I'm passionate about drumming, my natural given skill sets were elsewhere. And no matter how hard I worked at being a drummer, let's say I was learning this groove that in a lesson I needed to clear, so I go to the practice room and practice. My fellow friend, it took me, let's say, 3 hours. And my friend down there, who is at the same skill level as me, is able to complete that in 30 minutes. And I realized to get ahead of the game, I can't even catch up. So I can't even develop a niche, something special. And so I went super self-assistential during the first few semesters. But that really made me realize what my special skill sets were at. And that actually was at electronic production. Not say, I love this, but not this. But it's more like, for the podcasters, I'm pointing to a turntable set. But I'm more towards synthesis. So I'm able to hear, let's say, a David Guetta sound or a Skrillex screechy thing, and I'm able to recreate it in less than an hour, 30 minutes, just like that.
Okay.
So, and back then when that wasn't popular, that was the early days of Titanium, where
Early
electronic
days of EDM
Yeah,
like becoming a mainstream
yes
genre.
I was the only guy who could do it. So at least in my Singapore cohort, so that enabled me to have a very special skill that people will call me for. So when I came back, because I really didn't want to contribute back to the scene, that was an easy calling card for me.
Okay. Let's talk about some of the well-known songs that
Sure.
you've worked on. Okay. The most popular ones, like we mentioned, are most probably the NDP theme songs. Was there a lot of pressure to come up with these songs, given that, you know, they will get national attention? All the primary school kids will be expected to memorize and sing along to those songs.
Oh my god. Okay. I would say a lot of the pressure is self-imposed because you have 50 over years now, 60 years of history of mostly very well-loved tunes out there, and you're gonna put your own. Oh, good gracious me. It was very, very stressful, I would say, for myself, because I do not know if I could live up to the task of these legends, these people that I look up to that wrote all these tunes. Will I be able to live up to that? Will I be able to live up to the public's expectations of what a good song is? So yes, I was just pooping my pants, man. I mean, not literally, but yeah, it took me it took me a while to regulate my emotions and then be objective with the task. But I did realize at the end of the day, having done a fair amount of research, and by that I mean scouring Reddit and looking at YouTube, I realized I can't please everyone, and the best way to do it, like any song, is to be authentic about your experiences, authentic about your story. And so far, I hope these songs have resonated with most of you guys. But yeah, that's how I kind of approached it.
Okay, so the first NDP song that you worked on was the 2018 version of We Are Singapore. So that's a remake. Can we hear a bit of of the song?
Yeah, totally. So, talk a little about
that's you. The beats.
The beats, yes, and the synth. That's Charlie, the singer for this year ones. So that's a bit of the beat stuff, and then maybe at the end there's some electronic components.
We pledge ourselves
somewhere
as
around
one
here.
nation.
Is my future.
Here, that pulsating little line. There. So this song, it was co-produced with the music director Sidney Tan and Charlie, our national icon. I was very fortunately called to this NDP job because of Charlie, because of network. Very luckily, I was actually playing in his band. He got to know me through some of the works I've done prior, and he knew that I was able to do some of these things, they call it beat production, synth production, and across these different races, different styles, they wanted to modernize an old song. They wanted to create some fresh new approaches and sounds. So I was called on to kind of add on to what Sydney and Charlie was doing. So a lot of these elements were a combination of what I did and what they did. Yeah. So a quick rundown of that was that. Yeah, pretty cool. That was my very first experience with National Day. And on that year, we also worked on some of the other pieces in the parade. So very fun stuff. I had a great time.
Right, and the next one that you did was 4 years later, 3-4 years later, The Road Ahead 2021 theme song.
Yeah.
Let's hear a little bit.
For sure.
Of The Road Ahead.
Oop, wrong one.
Was that a remix?
This one.
One man on an island.
You all know this song?
In the sea. All it takes to set a wave in motion is a single word in action, a hope that we can be the change that we've been longing to see.
You had a bigger role in this
Yeah.
song, right? Compared to We Are Singapore.
Yeah. So this one, I was a co-writer and co-producer with Linying.
And it's a brand new song, as
Yeah.
opposed to remaking an old favorite.
Yeah, it was a very interesting challenge, and how we got there was just for a bit of context. I was actually working on the music for the National Day Parade since 2018, so till then. So it's been 4 years, right? So at that point in time, I just felt I had an inkling. I felt like I wanted to say something. I felt that there was something that needs to be said, and I felt that I could approach it with an angle that was a little bit fresher, and I asked the music director for a chance. So context is usually during this time, you don't usually just decide on one song. For the National Day theme songs, there usually is a kind of like an internal pitch, and there are several other writers that are vying for that theme song pick. So I was one of them. I asked for an opportunity since I've been working over the past few years. I'm soaking up the experience, and I was very lucky, very fortunate that the music director said, "Sure, give it a shot. Write a first verse to the chorus." So from that, what you heard to we did it before, do it again. That was the first draft, and what I did was, I was just hanging out with Linying. I remember very clearly, we were having uni sushi and Ion Orchard. And I was like, hey, you know what would be fun? It's been a while since we wrote a tune together. I think the last we did was also around 2016, 2018. We wrote a song called Vultures, alone as a...
Vultures.
Yeah.
That was from your album?
Yeah. Oh, yes. My own stuff, which we can dig into later. And I was like, hey, it would be fun if we wrote something together. She's like, yeah, it would be cool. And we gave it a shot. So the first thing we submitted was, it was just a very simple, me on the piano and her singing. It was during the pandemic time. We were very fortunate to have been able to meet and write. So yeah, it was, if you can scroll far back into both Linying and I's Instagram, you'll be able to see, I think, a demo. Like, it was just me on piano and her singing. It was really cool. We managed to get it through, and through a few more rounds of approval, we managed to get that song through. It was a very magical moment. We didn't think it would work out, but it did. It was an incredible feeling. We did not think it would become as well loved that it did during that period of time. It just decided to write something that felt cool, that resonated well with what we thought would resonate well with us and the general public.
Right. And the most recent one that you did was with Benjamin Kheng last year, Not Alone.
Yeah.
You were in a music video as well, playing drums.
Playing drums, that's right.
Playing drums, yeah.
He was very insistent that I turn up.
So that was your third one. So with the experience that you've had doing the first two ones, how was Not Alone different compared to the previous ones?
This one's a interesting one because Ben Kheng and I have worked together for a very, very long time. We started working together when he was with the Sam Willows, and I think we've been working together for many, many, many years. And when he got asked to do this, he asked whether I could jump on. Of course, it was a natural yes. And a lot of the times, actually, that moment, it was a lot of guiding Ben on what I've learned so far, but not imposing on him certain, let's say, KPIs or creative guidelines, but rather for him to express himself and nudge his authentic way of expressing his writing towards what might fit or what I felt might resonate better with the public. So a lot of the times it was just me kind of like, okay, I think, if you sang it this way, or if you sang it too high, maybe the primary fives who are coming for the NE program eating KFC might not exactly be able to sing that. Or thinking about, okay, these chords that you play, would it be accessible for the children who are picking up, let's say, an instrument for the first time, who are learning this, who the teachers are teaching them how to play? Would it be something that they'll be able to pick up? Stuff like that. So not too hard rules, but stuff that will make him consider what to do during the creative process.
Can you play a bit of the song and show us, point out some bits that
Sure.
That was your stamp, that was you.
Sure.
And it was not Ben.
Together, we worked on it together. It's okay. So here,
if we just look to each other.
So this key,
Yeah.
Then this house will feel like home.
so this key is actually quite high for Ben to sing, but we decided to stick on this one. Then it's actually a very friendly key for, I would say, maybe the kids to sing and scream off the top of their lungs. So if we watch us play live, because I'm his music director and we play a lot of live shows together, we play it a few keys down, where it's a lot more comfortable for him. But we choose it to sing this key because we felt, and we tried to test it amongst, I think, little groups while we were working on it, workshopping it. That was a more favorable key for them to sing. So stuff like that. And of course, we decided to keep it simple, long, stuff like that. So like these melodies are easy to remember, especially for the chorus. So that's the stuff that sticks.
Okay. So, working in a studio, recording and all that, it's very different from being out on stage. Like you mentioned, like playing with Ben Kheng. But the biggest thing that you did so far was going on a world tour with A-mei. Tell us all the countries that you've played in with. How many shows have you done with A-mei? How many countries is that?
Well, we literally just wrapped up the tour. I landed Monday, and we just wrapped up the world tour. It's been 3 years, 83 shows.
3 years.
Yeah, we ran from US, Taiwan, Japan, Budokan, right? And this leg was in China. We just ended one show in Nanchang. We just played a few shows in the Bird Nest in Beijing. I think it was 80,000 people. Incredible stuff. Yeah, it was a sight to behold, and it's a memory that will stick with me forever. She's an incredible artist.
And how did you get this gig in the first place?
That's an interesting one. So, how I got this gig was
She heard the NDP songs.
Oh, I wish, but she didn't. I don't think she has the time. What happened was the drummer for the A-mei gig, which is Singaporean, his name is Jia Rong. Him and I, we go way back. We play with this indie artist called Inch. So he got called for the A-mei gig as the drummer, and the particular role in A-mei, we call it playback engineer, and I do a bit of arrangement, was a specific set of skills. And he felt that I was the right guy to do the right job. So that is one. The other one is actually the music director managed to hear of me through the drummer, through Jia Rong, because he worked with Jia Rong, and also through Benjamin Kheng, because we wrote a song called Fresh Feelings together, and he was aware that I produced the tune with him, and it was a tune that he liked. So through these two avenues, I got called for the gig, and they felt that I was a perfect fit because of my experiences, both as a music director, arranger, producer. I was able to put on many different hats and manage that role well. That's why they called me for it. So yeah, and it was a very lucky moment. I do remember because I just moved into my rental flat when we just got married when I got the call. So it was a very huge moment. So yeah, like a core memory for me.
All right. It's a lot of flying in from Singapore. It's not like a straight 3-year-long tour, right?
No. So it's usually like, at least during this period where we fly into China, it's about every month maybe I'll be in and out 2 weeks. So we'll fly off Thursday, rehearse the whole day on Friday, play the show on Saturday, and we fly back Sunday, and I'll be back. If it's a 2-day show, then I'll fly back on Monday. Yes.
So is it correct to say that since you graduated from school, you've always been a musician? You've never taken on any other jobs?
I would say the jobs that I've taken have revolved around the music discipline mostly. It's a self-imposed rule because I feel that, I at least for me, I thought it was a great rule because I'll be able to put on many different hats, have many different experiences across this particular discipline. And when the job, let's say for the playback engineer for A-mei or being a music director for Ben Kheng, I'm able to understand the crew's language. I was able to understand the musician's language. I was able to talk to the technical director on certain things because I have put on these different hats, walked these different roads, worn these different shoes before, and I felt it was a good way to impose myself because then if it really made me realize how hungry I was for the job, how hungry I really wanted to do this for a living. Because to be frank, for myself at least, and this is something my wife still and my parents have really, and my sister, my family has drilled to me like, no one owes you a living. No one asked you to do music as a full-time job.
Yeah.
You did it yourself. You want to make it happen? Work hard, make it happen for yourself. And I did. So I felt I probably took it in a very harsh way and really imposed myself this really strict set of rules. Music only, or certain things that involve music. But I can sense the questions that are coming. So let me just put a quick caveat is, I did not do these music producer roles, these performing roles as a full-time thing. I started out probably doing teaching as a music production classes, piano classes along these roles. And while doing that, I balanced that with music arrangements and writing for jingles. So let's say like stuff that, do you know the Golden Village logo? So that's something that I did with my team and stuff like that. So adverts, teaching, and stuff like that, until when the niche, the stuff that people know me for, overrides the income that I have done for my dailies, that I choose to make the leap of faith. So that took a while. That took many years, mind you. But but it got me to a point where, okay, it's sustainable enough. Dive in the deep end.
What would you say as a full-time musician, right, in Singapore, as a Singaporean full-time musician, what would you say were your biggest challenges and how did you overcome them?
The first one would be my finances, because as a freelancer, for those who are here who are freelancers, you realize that balancing your income as a freelancer, it's so difficult, oh my gosh, because there are boons and there are times where there's just completely no jobs. And the way I balance this is, initially, I read a lot of books about that, and there was a 50-20-30 rule. I think 50 goes into, I can't remember exactly, it was expenses, right? And then it was needs, right? 50 to the needs, 20 to the savings, and 30 to the wants, or the other way around. But I tend to try to save almost, at least for me, 50% of what I earned, because you never know what when I don't get a job or rainy day is like. So I tend to have a savings of 6 months or more. And also, after working over so many years, this has been 15, 18, 20, I don't know. I'm 35, so okay, about 18. So
Time passes.
Yeah, so fast. I have white hair now, it's crazy. So I was able to divide up your annual income, so you have a rough idea what your monthly wage is, so you will save up for that. So save up, or you average out your income. So if, let's say, you have a boon during this particular month, you try to spend wisely and save up for the rest. So that's one. And then the other one is managing your and creating solid mental boundaries for yourself, because when it comes to creative work in general, a lot of you can't help but pour a lot of your emotional stuff into it, because you need to empathize, you need to sympathize, you need to understand from the person's perspective before you can write. So knowing when to do so and not bleed that into, again, music's my passion still, and I still want to play music outside of making money doing music. I need to place certain boundaries on when I do it and where I do it. So let's say at home, I do not do that. I go back home to play, to enjoy music because I love it. And I go to my studio, or let's say a different space in my room, like a different seat in my room or a different laptop in my room. That is where I work. So these different headspaces really help me to love my craft and work hard at my job. Yeah.
Okay, Evan, we're down to our last few minutes. Last question for you is from me, not from the audience, from me. Where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years' time?
Across the years, I realized that my passion for music has always been because I want to I think the goal for me is to make it viable, and then, of course, provide that as a resource to people who ask them, or people who are curious about them. And across the years, I've been doing that in different capacities: music producer, director, arranger, and a mentor on the Noise program, the Shine program, artist, and so on. So I think my hope is to still do that, because there are many ways to go, and I feel that at least in Singapore, culture and nurture is the way. So be it as a music director or an educator or edutainer, especially with what I'm doing online now on my social media, I think that's the way to go. That's where I see myself going. Hopefully on a bigger scale, where I can find more people who are like-minded like me, who can do that while I am getting a little bit more older and more energy, I would think, when I'm 10 years older. But that's where I see myself going.
All right, Evan, thank you so much for your wonderful insights into your work in music. I'm
Always
sure
happy.
everyone here will be thinking about you the next time they listen to The Road Ahead or
hope
Not
so.
Alone.
Thank
Right,
you.
round of applause for Evan. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Well, we hope you enjoyed this special episode of Music Lab. To listen to more of Evan's music or to read my columns on the music scene in Singapore and elsewhere, there are links in our podcast show notes. Thanks for tuning in.